So in this YouTube series of me trying to beat the clock and get my 4,000 watch hours in so I don't get fired, time has run out. Your girl has been fired from YouTube, and as a small creator, I am going to just share my experience on the tips and things that I am trying to help my small channel grow. In essence, to help you, because there are a lot of us small YouTube creators out there, and we just trying to be successful in these YouTube streets. And so I'm hoping today with the tips and some of the information that I'm about to share will be helpful to you, so you don't end up like me on the firing block, okay? But in full transparency, I was supposed to record this video like 3-4 weeks ago. That's on fire. But life has been happening, and in the midst of me not recording this video, there has been a shift and a change in YouTube with small channels growing, and there are actually some new things that I'm going to consider into my growth strategy that we're going to get into today. And plus I have a very juicy bonus at the end of this video. So let's get into it, and let's keep it raw and real. So if you hear me stumbling over my words or saying words that are not words, it's okay, you know? It's okay. Hello, beautiful people from across the land. It is your girl, 𝗙𝗪𝗏 Nicole. Join me on my journey to financial independence by eliminating debt, creating multiple streams of income, and inspiring others like you to dream again. And here we are, holding on to dear life of the dream of the YouTube channel blowing up so we can retire early. But in reality, I am becoming more and more accustomed and comfortable with the thought that YouTube is just going to be just like a little boost in my income. I feel like now, especially particularly in my career, like where I am, I don't know if I want to do this full time, and I actually want to talk about that in a separate video. But today we are going to talk about and kind of get into what can we do to help grow our channel faster. There are some things that I was thinking about in the beginning that I thought would really work, but there has been a shift on this YouTube platform that we're going to get into and hopefully help each other out to grow. So let's get right into it. All right, so the first tip, I may sound cliche, you may have heard this before, but I do feel like it is still very valuable, even with some of the changes that I'm noticing on YouTube, and that is to optimize your content for search. And there are a couple of ways that you can do that. The first way is to use keyword search. So one of the things I like to do is, if there is a topic that I have in mind or a topic that I want to talk about, I'll put it into the YouTube search bar and kind of see what populates first, like in the video search, and kind of how other channels are worded it, or if it's something that people are searching for or looking for. And one of the things that is like a telling sign of that, if there's maybe like a small channel that doesn't necessarily have like a lot of a huge subscriber count, but their view count on that particular topic or video is very large, it's like larger than their actual subscriptions subscribers to their channel, we're going to keep going, then that is a good topic to consider you know, doing a video for. Also using Google Analytics, and then also in the back studio for YouTube. And I realize even if you're not monetized, you still have access to this. Like YouTube will get to show you on the back end different search terms that may be good for your channel. And then I like to use the TubeBuddy extension, where you can do specific keyword research in there, and it'll let you know like the search volume and particularly how it compares to your channel. So that keyword research, in my opinion, is still valuable. And also with that, you want to create compelling titles and descriptions to get people to click, because it's the first impression. So you have to think of your thumbnail and then the title. What I've shared in my other previous videos is I'm not overdoing it with thumbnails anymore. Y'all just gonna get this lovely face, a smile, and that's it. I feel like with the shift that I am noticing with YouTube, it's like people just want to see authentic, real, original, everyday people like you and I getting on here talking, sharing their experience or sharing their information. So with the thumbnails, I'm keeping it very simple. Probably no more than like 4 or so words on a thumbnail, but yeah, I'm not overdoing it on the thumbnails. And then with the titles, even with the titles, I feel like there's been a shift as well, because there are videos that I have been watching where the title, it's not searchable. Like it's just something, it sounds like just a thought that came from someone's head. So in my opinion, you don't have to be super analytical on like the keywords. I feel like YouTube is getting mature enough in a point where it can pick up on some of the things that maybe you're even saying in the videos, or even what you're putting in the description, to kind of tailor what audience may like your video. And so keeping that in the back of your mind, optimizing your keyword research is going to be key. And my next tip I actually got from a YouTuber who actually inspired me to get right back into the camera when I started recording my YouTube series, and sharing with y'all about my firing experience, or threatening of getting fired at the beginning of that. And that is Virginia Kerr. She talked about how to speed up your editing process, and one of the things that she emphasized, which is my third tip, is do not spend more than an hour, which to me was crazy, because I remember spending like 8 to 10 hours on building my YouTube channel, whether it been especially with recording or with the editing process. The editing process, it was just like a nightmare. But in this video, and I'll be sure to link it, or like create or post a little thumbnail, whatever, she talks about how, particularly with the editing process, the different productivity hacks that you can do is to not spend more than an hour recording, editing, and getting your video up. And when I had got back onto the YouTube streets after being gone for like over 6 months, I gave that a try, and I was able to push out like 3 videos in like a week, which is like super abnormal for me. And one of the things that I'll just allow myself to do is to make mistakes, not over edit, not worry about adding all these little different layovers and all these things, but keeping it simple and just getting it done, because that is what's going to help you be consistent. If you have a system that allows you to do that, and not spending more than an hour recording or more than an hour editing is going to be key. And I've been putting that into practice, and I've seen, as long as I'm consistent, I've seen it be a lot more effective, and also good for my mental health, because trying to build a channel and manage everything else, which I feel like a lot of people don't talk about, it can be mentally draining and an emotional roller coaster if you're striving for something you just feel like it's never going to happen. With YouTube, it's almost like, you got to plant that seed day by day, right? And water it, give it some sunlight, and then eventually your harvest will grow. But finding a way to not consume yourself so much where you're spending almost like another full-time job to build your YouTube channel. So spending no more than an hour, I think, is going to be very key to help you be consistent. It may sound crazy in the beginning, because for me, I'm like, an hour, what? But I set like a little time. I'm like, you know what? No more than an hour recording. After I'm recording, no more than an hour editing my video. And it has worked, so definitely give that a try. Okay, the second point I want to make, and clearly I need to practice what I'm about to preach, and that is consistency and the frequency of posting. It has been so heavy on my spirit, the word consistency. Like that is going to be my word for going into the new year. But consistency is king or queen in YouTube. And so one of the things I think is really important is you have to set a realistic schedule. If you are like me, you wear multiple hats, whether you're working, parenting, whatever it may be, insert your responsibility. So time is of the essence, and your time is super valuable. And so figuring out a way of how can I set a realistic schedule to be consistent on YouTube and making it more applicable to your lifestyle and to your journey. Then also, when you are being consistent, you want to prioritize like the quality of the content that you're putting out there. One of the things, like I said, I'm noticing a shift in YouTube, which I think will help with consistency, is that it doesn't have to be overproduced. Like, you don't have to be in some fancy studio, beautiful background. Like, there's a lot of people just in their cars just chalking it up. And if you have not seen by now the girl 𝗪𝗪 just blowing up and making the dough while she's dashing, it's super inspiring. And so you can be consistent and have quality at the same time. And when you think of quality, just think of being real, being authentic, being true, and not creating some type of facade or cappery in regards to what you're trying to portray to your audience. And so being consistent is going to be vital. And then speaking of your audience, you want to focus on the two things, which is your audience retention and their engagement. And I kind of go a lot more in detail. I think it was in my previous video where I talked about the YouTube analytics and kind of breaking that down, because there are certain things you want to look at your YouTube channel on the research end to kind of see like where you're doing good and where you can improve. And retention and engagement is going to be key. So that retention is how long they are staying on your video, right? So they done drove by, they see you, oh, I'm gonna stop, let me see what shorty do what I'm talking about. I'm going to sit and watch, and that how long are they staying and watching? And YouTube has a very, very strong emphasis on that first 10 to 20 seconds of your video. So you want to make sure that you're retaining your audience, and then engaging. That's like, comment, subscribe. Since we're on this topic, you know, if you got a few seconds, go hit that like button, leave a comment, let me know my glasses is pretty, you feeling my hair that is growing out of control. But yes, that engagement is important. Are people talking to you? Are they liking your video? Are they subscribing to your channel? Are they hitting that notification bell? So when you are being consistently showing up, these are some of the things you want to monitor and look for to make sure your YouTube channel is on the right track of growth. Okay, so this is my bonus tip, and this tip is actually definitely going to push me out of my comfort zone. I think in the very first video when I came back after being gone for so long, because life has really been like boop boop boop, your girl, there's been a lot of like things that has been happening that I don't really like talk about on camera and kind of like out in the wider world, because once you put something on social media, there's no taking it back. And one of the things that is working for a lot of small YouTubers to grow their channel faster is being more personable. And that is something that I struggle with on my channel, because my original thought of my channel was to share my journey of, you know, becoming financially independent and paying down debt. And like that stuff, you know, I feel comfortable sharing, you know, talking about, you know, what I'm learning in regards to my finances. And I may hit a little bit on like the personal side, what goes on in my life, but not too much. And just even me naturally as a person, unless I know you, like feel comfortable with you, there's just like certain parts of my life that I just, you know, only share with my very, very close-knit, you know, friends and family. And this tip is not to say you have to air out all your dirty laundry, but adding a little bit more personal experience or personal branding is going to be key in growing your YouTube channel. And I hate to admit it, but it's like, I guess I got to be a little bit more authentic and just a little bit more transparent on what's going on in my world. And so I am going to take this in an approach where, how can I find a boundary with sharing my personal story and sharing my personal experience, but also not oversharing in a way that is damaging? And so sharing something that I feel like can be helpful to my audience and helpful to the everyday person who could be going through a very similar situation as I am, and just want to hear like they're not alone, or just want to hear like, oh, there is light after the tunnel, or just want to hear like, you know what, that made me upset too, and I can understand why you're tripping, because I was tripping, all right? So I'm trying to figure out a way to be a little bit more personable. And so that is the bonus tip. A lot of small channels that I have been watching and seeing, like they do have kind of like that personal branding or that personable experience added to there. And that's something that, you know, I guess I'm gonna have to do. And so I'm actually gonna start with my very next video here. And so if you want to learn a little bit more about me and a little bit more about a very interesting transition that I'm going through, be sure to watch. Until next time, dream, believe, and achieve.